Come with me, a little poor girl calls on a millionaire CEO to rescue her unconscious mother. But what he discovers will shock you. Adam stepped out of the fancy restaurant, adjusting his suit, when a small voice cut through the noise of honking cars. "Please, sir." He turned sharply. A thin little girl, no more than 7, tugged at his sleeve, tears streaking her dusty face. "Please come save my mother, she's dying." Adam blinked, stunned. Around them, people rushed by without a glance. "Where is she?" he demanded. "Come." Mary grabbed his hand, pulling him urgently. They ran through the crowded sidewalk, Adam's polished shoes slamming the pavement. He dodged a vendor cart, sending apples tumbling. "Hurry!" she cried. They darted into a narrow alley, damp and foul. Mary led him to a crumbling corner behind the building. There, a woman lay sprawled on the cold ground, her breathing ragged. Adam dropped to his knees, eyes scanning her pale, trembling form. He turned to the little girl, voice low but urgent. "What's your mother's name?" Mary wiped her tears, choking out, "Juliet?" Adam nodded sharply and turned back. "Juliet, can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered weakly. She tried to speak but coughed violently. "Call an ambulance," he barked, realizing no one was nearby. He tore off his jacket, tucking it under her head, and fumbled for his phone with trembling fingers. "Stay with me," he ordered. Mary sobbed beside her mother. Adam's thumb jabbed the emergency number again. Nothing, just a dead tone. "Damn it," he hissed, glancing at Juliet's shallow, rattling breaths. "Stay with me." He scooped her frail body into his arms. She was light to light. Mary ran alongside, crying. "Hold my jacket tight around her," he ordered. They burst from the alley onto the street. Cars honked as he dashed across, Juliet's head lolling against his chest. He reached his sleek black car, yanked open the back door, and laid Juliet carefully on the seat. "Get in," he barked at Mary. The little girl scrambled beside her mother, clutching her hand. Adam slammed the door and jumped behind the wheel, starting the engine with a roar. Tires screeched as he peeled away from the curb. He glanced in the mirror. Mary sobbed, shaking Juliet's shoulder gently. "Mommy, please wake up." "Hang in there," Adam growled, swerving past slower cars. Horns blared. He didn't care. The city was a blur of lights and screeching tires. As they hit the hospital driveway, Adam slammed the brakes. He threw the door open and bellowed, "Help! Somebody help!" Two nurses sprinted out with a gurney. "She's barely breathing," Adam shouted. They eased Juliet onto the gurney while Mary clung to her arm, wailing. "Sir, we'll take it from here," one nurse snapped, pushing the gurney inside at full speed. Adam followed, breathing hard, heart pounding. Hours later, Juliet lay on the hospital bed, pale but breathing steadily. Mary sat beside her, clutching her mother's hand. Adam sat close, watching them with worrying. "Mary," he said gently, "be calm. Your mother will be all right. The doctors are helping her." Mary sniffled, nodding weakly. Adam hesitated, then asked softly, "Do you know your father's number so we can let him know?" Mary shook her head, voice small. "No. Mommy said he left when I was a baby." Adam's heart ached. He gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'm here now. We'll take care of her together." Adam's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the caller ID. "Evelyn," he sighed and answered. "Evelyn." "Adam, where are you? It's late." Her voice was sharp with worrying. He exhaled, glancing at Mary and the sleeping Juliet. "I'm at the hospital," he said calmly. "A little girl stopped me. Her mother collapsed in the street. I couldn't just leave them." There was a pause on the line. "You're not coming home tonight?" Evelyn's voice trembled, part frustration, part disbelief. "I don't think so," Adam admitted. "She's in bad shape. The girl has no one. I have to stay." Evelyn went silent. He heard her breathing unevenly. "Adam, this isn't safe. You don't even know them." "I know," he said softly. "But they need help. I can't walk away." Another pause, then a resigned sigh. "All right, I don't like it, but fine. I'll come tomorrow to see for myself." "Thank you," he said, relief in his voice. "Don't do anything stupid tonight." "I won't," he promised. They hung up. Adam put the phone down and looked at Mary, who had fallen asleep holding her mother's hand. He leaned back in the chair, eyes heavy, determined to stay the night and watch over them. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the hospital window as Evelyn stepped briskly inside. Adam stood up from the chair, eyes bleary from the long night. "Evelyn," he greeted, relief on his face. She scanned the room, noticing the frail woman in the bed and the little girl blinking awake beside her. "So this is them?" Evelyn asked quietly. Adam nodded. "Juliet's her name." She collapsed in the street. "This is her daughter, Mary." Evelyn softened, kneeling to greet the little girl. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" Mary clung shyly to the blanket but managed a tiny smile. Adam turned to say something more, but Juliet stirred, groaning softly. Her eyes fluttered open. "Easy," Adam said, leaning over her. Her gaze landed on his face and froze. "Adam," she croaked, voice cracking. He blinked in surprise. "You know me." She gave a pained, bitter smile. "Look at me," she whispered, tears welling. "Don't you remember? Juliet, the lady you impregnated and abandoned." Adam's face drained of color. Evelyn stood frozen, eyes wide, her mouth opening in shock. The room went silent except for the beeping monitor, thick with sudden, suffocating tension. Evelyn's face twisted in disbelief, her voice rising in the silent room. "What did I just hear?" She stared at Adam, eyes blazing. "Adam, you told me you'd never dated anyone else in your life. You said you were a virgin." Adam's mouth opened, words tumbling out clumsily. "Evelyn, please, I can explain." "Explain," she snapped, voice cracking with rage and hurt. "Explain what? That you lied to me? That you have a child you never told me about?" Juliet lay watching them, her eyes glassy with tears. Mary clung tighter to her mother, startled by the yelling. Adam raised his hands, pleading. "Evelyn, please, just listen." But Evelyn shook her head furiously, tears stinging her eyes. "No. No. Adam, I'm not doing this." She turned on her heel, heels clicking sharply on the hospital floor, and stormed out of the room. "Evelyn," Adam called after her, but she didn't slow down. He exhaled shakily, shoulders slumping. As the door slammed behind her, the room fell into tense silence. Juliet turned her face away, sobbing quietly. Adam dropped heavily into the chair, rubbing his temples, feeling his world splinter around him. Adam left the hospital, heart pounding, dread clawing at his chest. When he got home, Evelyn was pacing the living room, eyes red and furious. "Evelyn, please listen," he began, voice cracking. She spun on him, voice trembling. "How dare you lie to me all these years, Adam? I thought you were different. I trusted you." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Evelyn, I didn't know she kept the baby. I didn't know she was in that state." "Enough," she shouted, tears spilling over. "Don't you see? I can't live like this. You better choose. It's her and that child or me, but they are not coming into our home." Adam felt the words like a punch to his gut. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Evelyn's eyes flashed with anger and heartbreak. "I deserve better," she said, voice breaking. "I thought I was your first, your only. Was that all just a lie?" Adam's eyes burned. "Please, Evelyn, don't do this." But she turned away, shoulders shaking with sobs, and refused to look at him. Adam sat alone on the porch, thinking hard. He remembered what the doctor had told him kindly. "Adam, you can't have babies of your own." It made his heart hurt. Evelyn had only brought fighting and sadness. There would never be a child with her. But Juliet was here now. She had forgiven him. And Mary was his little girl, his only child. He took a deep breath, feeling lighter. "This is my family," he said softly to himself. "I will choose them. I will make sure we are happy." The next morning, Adam returned to the hospital with a heavy heart. Juliet was sitting up, looking weak but better. Mary sat beside her, drawing on a piece of tissue with a pen. "You're being discharged today," Adam said gently. "I'm taking you home." Juliet's eyes widened. "Home? Where?" "To my house," he said firmly, "just for a while, until I figure things out." She hesitated. "Adam, what about your wife?" "I'll handle it," he replied, avoiding her eyes. Later that afternoon, Adam pulled into the driveway with Juliet and Mary in the back seat. As they entered the house, Evelyn stood in the hallway, arms folded, her face a storm. "What is this?" she snapped. "You actually brought them here." "Evelyn," Adam said softly, "just for a short time. She has no one. She's recovering, and Mary." "No, Adam," she cut in coldly. "They're not staying here. Not in this house. Please," he pleaded. "It's temporary. Just until I get them a place." Evelyn shook her head in disbelief, her eyes burning. She glared at Juliet, then at Mary, who hid behind her mother. Without another word, Evelyn turned and stormed into her room, slamming the door behind her. Juliet stood frozen, holding Mary's hand tightly. Adam sighed, his heart torn in two, and guided them gently to the guest room. The house had never felt so divided. Days dragged by in cold silence. Evelyn barely looked at Adam. She avoided Juliet and Mary entirely, slamming doors and eating meals alone. One tense afternoon, Evelyn sat on the couch, arms folded, when she heard a loud crash from the kitchen. She bolted up. "Mary!" she shouted, storming in. The little girl stood frozen, eyes wide, tears forming as shards of a broken plate lay scattered at her feet. "I'm sorry," Mary stammered. "That was my plate," Evelyn screamed, grabbing Mary's arm roughly. Juliet appeared in an instant, voice sharp. "Let her go." She pulled Mary back protectively. "She's careless," Evelyn spat. "She doesn't respect anything in this house. She's just a child." Juliet's voice shook with rage. "She didn't mean to break it." Evelyn's eyes flashed. "You're ungrateful. I didn't want you here in the first place." Juliet's face crumpled with hurt. "We never wanted to be here, either." Evelyn glared at her, breathing hard, before turning on her heel. "Enough, I can't stand this." She pushed past them and left the kitchen, the sound of her footsteps echoing down the hall before her door slammed shut. Silence fell. Mary sobbed quietly against Juliet's side. Adam entered slowly, face heavy with exhaustion and regret. He looked at then Juliet clutching her crying daughter and felt his heart sink. "This isn't working," he said softly, voice cracking. Juliet looked away, tears in her eyes. Adam exhaled shakily. "I'm sorry, Juliet. I can't let this continue. I'll find you an apartment. I'll pay the rent. You and Mary will be safe." Juliet blinked rapidly, nodding, her voice hoarse. "Thank you," she whispered, clinging to Mary. Adam turned away, wiping his eyes, knowing it was the only choice left. The air in the house was icy with tension. Adam stayed out late, drowning in guilt and worrying, desperate to arrange the promised apartment for Juliet and Mary. That afternoon, Evelyn stood alone in the kitchen. She glared at the two covered plates of rice and stew Juliet had cooked earlier for herself and Mary. Her hands clenched into fists. "They don't belong here," she whispered, her eyes burning with rage. With shaking fingers, she opened the cleaning cabinet and pulled out a small bottle of rat poison. Her breath trembled as she unscrewed the cap. She hesitated, then poured a careful line of the white powder onto both plates. She mixed it in slowly, swallowing hard as her heart pounded. Suddenly, she heard quiet footsteps approaching. Panicking, she shoved the bottle back into the cabinet and wiped her hands on a towel, stepping aside quickly. Mary entered the kitchen softly, eyes on the floor. She didn't even glance at Evelyn. She simply walked straight to the counter, lifted the tray with the two plates, and turned silently toward the dining room. Evelyn watched, frozen, breath caught in her throat. But as Mary stepped over the edge of the rug, her small foot slipped. The tray tipped violently. Both plates crashed to the floor, rice and stew splattering in wet clumps everywhere. Mary squeaked in shock, tears immediately filling her eyes. Juliet rushed in at the sound. "Mary, oh my God, are you hurt?" Mary sobbed. "I'm sorry, Mommy, I dropped it all." Juliet knelt and hugged her tight. "Shit's okay, sweetheart. We'll clean it up." Evelyn watched from the doorway, pale and shaking. Her eyes locked on the ruined food soaking into the floor. Without a word, she turned and fled down the hall, heart slamming with guilt and horror. Weeks later, the house felt emptier. Adam had kept his word. He found a modest, clean apartment for Juliet and Mary on the edge of town. He paid their first 6 months' rent himself. When he drove them there with their few bags, Juliet thanked him quietly, tears in her eyes. Mary clung to his arm, whispering, "Thank you, Uncle Adam." Adam's chest tightened painfully. But back home, Evelyn wasn't grateful. She stood at the window the night he returned, arms folded tight, her eyes cold. "So you set them up comfortably," she spat. "It was the right thing to do," Adam said tiredly. She scoffed, "Right for them, maybe." "Tell me, Adam, when are you going to give me a child?" Adam flinched, the words cut deep. "I'm trying," he said quietly. "Trying," she repeated bitterly. "You're busy playing savior while I'm here barren." He had no answer. Evelyn turned away, eyes shining with unshed tears. A few days later, Evelyn packed a small bag and took the bus to visit her mother in the next town. They sat in the cramped kitchen over steaming cups of tea. Evelyn broke down, tears streaming. "Mama, he brought them into our house, the woman he impregnated years ago and her child. He set them up in a new home. He cares for them." Her mother's face tightened, hard as stone. "Ungrateful man," she hissed. Evelyn sobbed. "He says they're innocent, that he had to help." Her mother leaned closer, voice low, eyes glinting darkly. "Then you make sure they're not his problem anymore." Evelyn sniffled, confused. "What do you mean?" Her mother's lips curled. "Find someone who will deal with them. A gang. Pay them to kidnap that woman and her brat, and them, for good." Evelyn blinked in horror. "Don't look at me like that," her mother snapped. "You want your marriage, your man, sometimes you must fight for it." Silence settled. Evelyn's hands shook on her cup. Slowly, terribly, she nodded. Her mother smiled coldly. They leaned in closer, voices dropping to hushed, conspiratorial tones as they began to plan. Evelyn sat alone in her car for nearly an hour, hands trembling on the steering wheel. Her mother's words rang in her ears like a drumbeat. "You want your marriage, fight for it." Finally, she wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and stepped out. That evening, she met with a rough-looking group of men behind an abandoned warehouse. Their leader, a scar-faced man named Cola, lit a cigarette and eyed her coldly. "You sure about this?" he drawled. Evelyn swallowed, voice shaking. "I want them gone, both of them. A woman and her little girl, I want them kidnapped. Demand ransom from that foolish husband of mine. Then finish them." Cola's eyebrow arched. "Ruthless," he said, exhaling smoke. "I like it." She shivered but pushed on. "Here's their address." She handed over a slip of paper with shaking fingers. He took it, scanning it briefly. "And the date? Next Thursday. He'll be at work. They'll be alone." Cola flicked his cigarette aside, grinning darkly. "For the right price," he said. "It'll be done, quick, quiet." Evelyn felt bile rise in her throat but forced herself to nod. She handed over a thick envelope of cash. He thumbed through it and whistled. "We'll be in touch. Don't worry, you won't see them again?" Evelyn turned away quickly, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let them see. As she walked back to her car, the weight of her choice pressed on her chest like a stone, but she didn't look back. It was a quiet morning. Birds chirped in the pale dawn light as Juliet held Mary's small hand, gently locking their door behind them. "Come on, sweetheart," she said softly. "We'll get some bread from the shop." Mary yawned and smiled sleepily. Across the street, a black van sat parked, engine rumbling low. Inside, Cola and his men watched through tinted windows. "There they are," one of them muttered. Cola's eyes narrowed. "Wait for it." Juliet and Mary stepped off their small porch. As they reached the sidewalk, the van's side door slammed open. "Move," Cola barked, his voice low and menacing. Juliet froze, eyes widening in horror. "Shut up," another man hissed, brandishing a pistol. "One sound and you both die." Mary screamed before Juliet clamped a shaking hand over her mouth. Tears poured down the little girl's face. "Please," Juliet begged hoarsely, "don't hurt her." Inside, they were shoved roughly into the van. The door slammed shut behind them. Juliet wrapped both arms around Mary, who shook like a leaf, sobbing quietly. The van screeched away from the curb. "Please," Juliet whispered, voice cracking. "Please, she's just a child." "Shut it," the driver snapped. They sped through narrow roads, Juliet's heart thundering in terror. She pressed Mary's head against her chest to block her view of the gunman's cruel grins. Up ahead, blue uniforms loomed a police checkpoint. Cole cursed under his breath. The van slowed. A policeman waved them down. "Stop. Open the back." Panic flooded Juliet's eyes. She mouthed "Help us" silently, but the gang member pressed the muzzle of his gun to her side. "Don't move," he whispered. The rear window cracked open just enough for another gangster to speak. "Officer," he drawled calmly, "we're delivering for a client. Urgent. Look at this traffic behind us." Another officer jogged over, glancing at the bottleneck of honking cars. "Come on. Let them go. We're blocking everyone." The first officer hesitated, frowning. "Move," his partner insisted. With a resigned wave, the officer stepped aside. "Go." Cola gave a wolfish grin as the van surged forward, leaving the checkpoint behind in a blur. Inside, Juliet sobbed soundlessly into Mary's hair, clutching her tighter than ever, the smell of fuel and fear filling the van as they roared away into the uncertain distance. The van skidded to a stop in front of an abandoned, uncompleted building deep on the outskirts of town. Its concrete walls were cracked and graffiti-stained, a ghost of what was once a construction site. "Move," Cola barked, yanking the door open. Juliet and Mary were dragged out roughly, Juliet stumbling as she tried to shield her daughter. Mary's shoes scraped against the dusty ground, her eyes wide with terror. "Please," Juliet whispered again, "don't hurt my child." The men shoved them inside the hollow building into a dark corner with broken cement blocks and scattered tools. Cola pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and placed it on speaker. The phone rang once, twice. "Hello." Adam's voice came through. "You know who this is?" Cola said coldly. "Who is this?" "We have your sweet little Juliet, and that pretty daughter of yours. If you want them alive, bring us to $100,000. No police, you have 48 hours. Adam's blood froze. "Wait, what? Who are you?" The line went dead. His phone nearly slipped from his hand. He stood in the living room, stunned, heart pounding. Evelyn, sitting on the couch with a cup of tea, looked up. "What's wrong?" she asked. Adam turned to her, pale. "Juliet and Mary. They've been kidnapped." Evelyn's eyes widened with forced shock. "What? Oh my God. Who would do such a thing?" "I don't know," Adam said, breathing hard, "but they want 200,000 or they'll kill them." Evelyn held her chest. "Jesus, this is horrible." Without another word, Adam grabbed his car keys and stormed toward the door. "Where are you going?" she called out. "To the police," he said, his voice hard. "They need to know, and I'm getting them back. No matter what it takes." He slammed the door behind him, leaving Evelyn sitting in silence. Her hands trembled slightly, the fake worrying still plastered across her face, only now it was cracking. And in that moment, she knew the game was no longer in her hands. Adam burst into the police station, heart slamming in his chest. "Officer, please, I need help. My wife's former partner and her daughter, they've been kidnapped. I just got a ransom call, $200,000. They said they'll kill them if I don't pay." The duty officer's face hardened. "Do you have the number they called from?" Adam handed over his phone with shaking hands. The officer nodded. "We'll trace it. Sit tight. We'll do everything we can." Adam slumped into the plastic chair, fighting tears. After what felt like hours, he finally left the station, exhausted and shaken, praying they'd find them in time. Meanwhile, back at home, Evelyn sat in their bedroom with the door locked. She dialed Cola's number with trembling fingers. "Hello." Cola's gravelly voice answered. "It's me." She hissed, "Listen, in a few days, I'm coming. I want to see them before you. You know. Finish it." Cola laughed darkly. "Cold-hearted. I like it. Don't worry. They'll be here, alive, for now." He ended the call. Evelyn let out a shaky breath, pressing her forehead to her knees, as she prepared to visit the hidden location. 3 days later, the police finally called Adam. "Mr. Adam," the voice said urgently, "we've got them. We traced the calls. We know their hideout location." Adam sat up straight, heart hammering. "Are you sure? Are they alive?" "Yes, sir." We're going to get them out, both of them? Adam's eyes filled with tears of relief. Thank God, he whispered, voice breaking. He ended the call, pressing a hand to his face, silently praying they would make it in time to save Juliet and Mary from a nightmare that had gone too far. Inside the abandoned, half-finished building, sunlight streamed through gaping holes in the walls. The unfinished concrete floor was littered with broken bricks and dust. Heat radiated off the walls in shimmering waves. Juliet crouched against the wall, clutching Mary to her chest. The child was shaking violently, tears streaking down her dusty cheeks. Shh, baby. Mommy's here, Juliet whispered, though her own voice trembled with fear. In front of them, Evelyn paced like a caged animal. Her hair was wild, her face blotchy with rage. You think you're clever, don't you? She spat, voice rising, playing the victim. Making Adam feel sorry for you, getting his money, his time, his pity. Juliet's eyes filled. Evelyn, I'm begging you. I never wanted him back. I just needed help for my child, that's all. Evelyn's laugh was short, humorless. Save your lies. He looked at you with sympathy. You poisoned him against me. Mary whimpered, burying her face in Juliet's shoulder. Please don't hurt us, Juliet choked out. Evelyn's eyes narrowed to slits. Slowly, deliberately, she pulled a small knife from her bag. Sunlight flashed on the blade. You think you'll live to tell this story? No. No one takes what's mine, Juliet screamed, shielding Mary with her body. Outside, police cars screeched to a halt. Doors flew open. Officers fanned out, weapons drawn, voices tight with command. Perimeter secure. Alpha team moved to entry. Inside, Evelyn raised the knife, her arm shaking with fury. Crash. The door exploded inward. Sunlight flooded the room as black-vested officers charged in. Police. Drop the weapon. Evelyn froze, wild eyes darting. Drop IT now. Her hand trembled. The knife fell with a clatter. Officers lunged, tackling her to the ground. She thrashed, screaming. Get off me. She ruined everything. Let me go. Cuff her, the commander barked. Two other officers rushed to Juliet and Mary, helping them to their feet. Ma'am, you're safe now. Come with us. Juliet broke down, sobbing in relief. Mary clung to her mother like a lifeline. Outside, Adam sprinted across the dusty lot as police guided them out. Juliet. Mary. He wrapped them both in his arms. Mary cried against his chest. Juliet shook with silent sobs. Then Adam's eyes lifted, locking on Evelyn. She was dragged out, hands cuffed, face contorted with rage and tears. Their eyes met. Evelyn, Adam whispered, voice breaking. He felt the world tilt. His wife had become their worst nightmare. Adam stood frozen, staring at Evelyn as the police hauled her toward the waiting van. Dust swirled around them in the bright afternoon sun. Evelyn, he shouted, voice cracking. She turned, eyes red, hair wild, tears streamed down her face. Adam stepped closer, fury and heartbreak battling inside him. So this was all you, he demanded. You planned this. You were going to kill them just to steal money from me, to end their lives. Evelyn shook her head violently, sobbing. No, Adam, it wasn't me, it was the devil. I didn't mean it. I swear I didn't mean for it to go this far. But there was no more time for excuses. Move her, the commander ordered. The officers dragged her away. Evelyn's cries echoed off the cracked walls. Adam, please, I'm sorry. Adam's eyes burned with unchecked tears as he watched the woman he once loved disappear into the police van. The gang members were also handcuffed, their faces blank and resigned as officers forced them into separate vehicles. Nearby, Mary trembled in Juliet's arms, shivering and crying uncontrollably. A paramedic knelt beside them, checking Mary's pulse. She's in shock, the medic said gently. We need to get her to the hospital. Juliet nodded, voice breaking. Please, help her. Police cars and ambulances rumbled to life. Evelyn, still wailing apologies, was taken to the hospital for psychiatric evaluation and treatment. Mary was also rushed to the children's ward for medical care and trauma support. Adam insisted on riding in the ambulance beside Juliet, holding Mary's tiny hand. A week later, Adam helped Juliet and Mary move into his own house, determined to right his past mistakes. The days grew brighter. Mary's laughter slowly returned, filling the rooms with warmth. Adam would carry her on his shoulders around the yard while Juliet watched, smiling softly, tears of relief in her eyes. Adam sat with Juliet many evenings, talking about old wounds, their regrets, and their hopes for Mary's future. "I abandoned you once," he whispered one night, voice heavy with guilt. Juliet shook her head gently. "What matters is you're here now. For her. For us." Evelyn remained in treatment, the house quieter but more peaceful. They cooked meals together, prayed together, and watched Mary grow happier and stronger each day. Adam felt a peace he hadn't known in years, a second chance, hard-won but precious. They continued living a good life built on forgiveness, honesty, and care. Always choose compassion over pride. Helping those in need can heal old wounds and create true family. Betrayal and jealousy destroy, but forgiveness and responsibility can build a better, kinder future.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support helps grow this community and brings more thrilling stories your way. Stay tuned. Another suspenseful tale is coming soon.